I'm Dana Jacobson from CBS This Morning Saturday. I'm here in Times Square, which isn't too far from our New York studios. Now, we know not everyone likes to get up early on a Saturday morning to watch our show. So over the next half hour, we're going to share some of our favorite pieces focusing on the arts. Up first, my co-host Jeff Glor takes an inside look at a photographer and his journey from a kid with a camera to photographing a wolf on Sunset Boulevard.
Let's make some magic. This is it.
I've always believed that the best photographers stand in front of the most interesting things. It's really that simple.
From the Arctic to Africa to the American West, David Yarrow's work shooting wildlife, indigenous communities, and landscapes has reshaped fine art photography.
You never know when that big moment's going to come.
A combination of his extreme planning and patience.
That's it. Brilliant.
Recently, in Southern California, Yarrow only had a few minutes of perfect sunlight to create his latest print.
Get that shade right.
A staged shot on Sunset Boulevard featuring one of the most famous models in the world, Alessandra Ambrosio, a car and a wolf.
So wait, do I really need to be with the wolves?
Here, Ambrosio wasn't comfortable sitting next to the wolf.
Come on, you're fine. Come on, come a little forward, a little closer.
If you don't like it, we can shoot them independently.
Yeah.
We just do a composite of the two. That's it. Get that light on him.
So Yarrow improvised.
You've got to get that wolf further forward in the car.
You have Sunset Boulevard shut down, people honking at you like crazy,
Yeah.
a wolf.
4 wolves.
Four wolves.
He brings backups just in case. The photo, titled Chateau Marmont, was half of Yarrow's Wolf of Wall Street idea, an homage to the Martin Scorsese-Leonardo DiCaprio film.
We don't start dialing at 9:30 because our clients are already answering the phone.
You all know this scene early on in The Wolf of Wall Street.
He did one picture outside and one inside a trading room.
Everyone ready? Go for it.
With Jordan Belfort, the man the Wolf of Wall Street is based on. Yarrow's usual goal is to get as close as possible to animals of all kinds. That includes traveling to South Africa with British model Cara Delevingne to shoot her in front of a lion.
You search David Yarrow on the internet, this is one of the first ones that comes up.
I mean, she's a British icon. She is authentic. She is brave.
She's got a lion standing directly behind her.
Yeah, she's fearless. She is fearless.
Yarrow has also come face-to-face with black panthers, elephants, captured here with a special wide-angle lens, and tigers.
Tigers will kill you. Tigers are the most vicious animals in the world. They will kill you for fun. I'll go in the cage, I think, and try and work from the cage.
Is there ever any fear?
There's fear of failure, which is always good, but fear of personal safety. Never with animals. With people, yes. I mean, my scary moments have always been with people because people can buy weed, they can get drunk, and they can buy guns. Animals can't do those 3 things.
One of Yarrow's most famous photos is a kind of selfie with a polar bear, where if you look closely, you can see his silhouette in the bear's eyes.
I heard somebody say once that most people survive attacks with black bears or grizzlies, but nobody's ever survived an attack from a polar bear.
I think that's probably true.
And yet you're right there in its face.
Well, we do more than that because they're very sweet-toothed. So you've always got to be downwind from them. Never be upwind from a polar bear because they won't smell you. But if you're downwind and then you cover yourself in chocolate. But we always say don't do it at home.
David Yarrow first became interested in photography as a teenager, snapping pictures of sporting events in England. But following parental and economic pressure, he shifted to banking.
Way back in 1988, photography was something that weird people did, like they would be train spotters, whereas banking is what normal people did. And now banking is what weird people do, and photography is what normal people do, and it's amazing how far we've come.
Yarrow didn't get back to photography full-time until 2012. By that time, his marriage had painfully fallen apart.
I wasn't fond of myself. My path to redemption was to pick up my cameras and go to the most remote parts of the world. That was the way, that was my antidote to my personal pain.
Yarrow has cultivated an impressive list of celebrity fans by now. Tom Brady wrote the foreword to his latest book.
When people want to say something nasty about me, they'll turn around and say, "Oh, David, yeah, he's taking some good pictures, but you know he's a businessman." My mother was an artist. She was a much better artist than me, a sculptress. And she died sadly penniless because she thought the commercial pursuit or the monetization of her craft was shameless. Let's be shameless. We've got to.
That's how you feel about it. When people say that there's more interest in the celebrity or the business part of it than the actual art itself.
I think you have to have an end market. If people want to turn around and say, yeah, well, David, yeah, he knows American football players and British football players and supermodel, whatever, I work with him. I think you've done a remarkable job.
Yarrow can take months to plan one picture. But once everything is in place, things move fast.
From Sunset Boulevard to here.
Yeah, and we pride ourselves on our work ethic. We shot this 26 hours ago, and here is the final version.
He then only releases a limited number of original signed pictures. Single prints can go for well over $100,000.
Do you ever stop to think about that? That you're producing pictures that demand that amount of money?
In 1985, I photographed Wimbledon. I'd go home, I would print up my pictures in the darkroom, and I would sell them on the streets the next day for 20 quid a picture. So when you go from selling pictures on the street for 20 quid to seeing one of your pictures go at Sotheby's, of course you think about the fact that your journey has worked and your hard work's paid off. Absolute carnage. Do I go to bed thinking about it? No, I just want to get better.
So good. It's amazing. Look at your face. It's perfect.
Time now to move from Hollywood to, well, here. My co-host Michelle Miller steps into an off-Broadway production rooted in African culture.
If you've never seen dance moves like this before, welcome to the stage of Step Africa. The professional dance company performs stepping, an American invention rooted in African tradition, born on black college campuses a century ago.
Stepping is an art form first developed by African American fraternities and sororities that uses the body as an instrument.
C. Brian Williams is its founder.
First time I saw it was walking on campus at Howard University.
Me too. Homecoming.
Step show.
Step show.
All the Greeks doing the form.
Don't get lazy.
Williams pledged the oldest one, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
I am a real man, a gamma man. Were you asked to speak?
But then came 1988. And director Spike Lee's film, School Days.
And that was a huge moment because for years it had been like the secret, this art form. If you weren't around the college campus, you might miss it. But School Days kind of brought it out, and from there, stepping took off.
Williams launched Step Africa in 1994.
Let freedom reign.
After hosting a festival celebrating the election of Nelson Mandela in post-apartheid South Africa.
So it was a wild time. I think we're just young, excited, wanted to do something different, wanted to bring these two cultures together.
But it was his visit 4 years earlier that truly set the stage.
I'm there in 1990, studying and working, and that's where I first saw the South African gum boot dance. And it looked so much like stepping that I had to kind of do a little more research on it.
And what did your research find?
I found out it was an art form created by men who worked in the mines of South Africa, and it was a percussive dance that used the body as an instrument, just like stepping.
In 25 years, Williams has taken stepping global, touring 49 states in more than 50 countries.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's even got its own interactive exhibit at the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Every 4 minutes, a young person can learn how to step with Step Africa.
And it's resonating. In the last 2 decades, stepping has made its way into music videos, including a Beyoncé routine. There's even a movement to bring the platform to NCAA team-level competition. Just about everyone,
Attention!
tries to get in on the act.
Keep it up there. 3.
But on this circuit, artistic director Mafan Akban
And pull! Let me get the middle.
manages 15 full-time artists. She joined Step Africa 15 years ago.
Place your head down.
It's the rhythm within your body, it's within your soul.
And drop.
You're gonna get different sounds and different tones and different rhythms from different parts of your body. It's things you wouldn't even, snaps and, making stomps and
clap.
Yes, all over. Natural.
I miss my calling.
This year's calling, the national tour of Drum Folk. It's the company's second show to run off-Broadway in 3 years. Drum Folk's the vision of historian Dr. David Pleasant and folklorist Bessie Jones.
Yeah.
Seen through the lens of director Jakari Sherman.
Where does stepping come from? What happened when the drum was taken away?
Drum Folk traces the deep-seated roots of stepping to an event in 1739 called the Stono Rebellion.
About 20 men from Angola rose up near the Stono River in the colony of South Carolina. They were using drums as they went along, and they gathered people. By the end of it, it was maybe 100 people, right?
It lasted just a few days, but the backlash prompted even harsher slave laws.
Recognizing the power of the drum in this insurrection, the colony enforced what became known as the Negro Act. 1, 2, 3. Tight elbow, tight arm in. They restricted the reading and writing, they restricted gathering, they restricted traveling and that sort of thing. But most importantly in our story, they restricted the use of the drum.
And the drum is so tied to culture, African culture.
So tied to it. So when that was taken away, the body became the drum.
For Step Africa, the drum has come full circle.
What are you most surprised about? What blew your mind on this journey?
For years, I wanted to step in the White House. And I was like, we need to be in the East Wing under those chandeliers, and we need to make those chandeliers shake. So when President Obama was elected, I was like, okay, I might have to make a move.
It took 8 years, but in February of 2016, Williams's wish was granted. Step Africa made it to the East Room, and the art form of slaves was performed in the house that slaves built.
That was absolutely incredible.
You got that on film?
Oh, yeah. On the iPhone. I should say that, but yeah. Yeah, we got it captured.
What was the chandelier quaking?
Quaking. We made them shake.
Like so many other things, Step Africa shows are on hold right now, but they do have performances scheduled for later in the year. Time now to fly south to Miami, where Kenneth Craig gives us a look at a museum like no other.
Looking at that train, that was the summer of 1980 when I was 23.
That New York City subway was one of more than 5,000 that graffiti artist Steve Ogburn covered in color, captured in photos now on display at the new Museum of Graffiti.
And you're doing this in the middle of the night?
This is at 2 o'clock in the morning, pitch dark, standing like this next to a train.
You got to a point where you became a master and expert in New York City subways.
Well, in the tunnels, because I could really run really fast. At 6 feet tall, probably 139 pounds, 29-inch waist. I mean, I could move. For me, it's so nice because someone's recognizing it.
Known as Blade, he was part of the birth of modern graffiti in the 70s and 80s and is considered one of its pioneers. Among a generation of daring young writers whose works are featured here.
Your intention was what when you set up the design of the museum?
To bring you through a historical timeline, to show you from the very beginning of the style writing movement, the graffiti art movement, till today.
Alan Kett is a graffiti artist historian and collector who partnered with former state prosecutor Allison Frieden as she was doing advocacy work for graffiti writers. The duo co-founded the museum not only to educate the public and preserve the history, but to provide visitors a counter-narrative.
That was really the goal for both Alan and I, is to sing the song of unsung heroes who have contributed so much to our culture, yet the artists who pioneered that were routinely shunned for their work.
There was a war on graffiti for decades.
There was a war on graffiti for decades, but what does that even mean? That just means you're cleaning it up. That means that you're incarcerating young kids and perhaps exposing them to real criminals and real criminal activity and real criminal life.
Kett's legal run-ins over his work landed him a number of lawsuits.
Done.
And in 2007, a plea deal with New York City prosecutors that made headlines.
There still will be people who will watch this and say, that's not art, that's vandalism.
You know, and I think that those folks that say that should come and visit us and take a walk with me so that I could explain to you why this is an art form and how this art form was created and how it's evolved and developed and gone around the world and how it now sells for millions of dollars. Then you see Jester to the right, his J kicks up and creates a big circle.
It's what he's now doing inside the collection
in the early 80s
and out on the streets, where the museum has commissioned 11 murals.
We walk by and we see police. They're looking for the artist. It's nighttime, they're using flashlights.
The institution opened in Miami's Wynwood neighborhood, a former industrial district that over the past decade, street artists have transformed into a vibrant and massive open-air gallery. Here, aerosol artists from around the world have free reign.
Wynwood really has become a destination here in Miami.
Wynwood is an art destination in Miami. It's also an entertainment destination. It's a foodie destination. There's all kinds of things happening here. It's a nightlife destination.
The 3,200 square foot museum is packed with more than 300 pieces of the movement's history and the artists behind it.
And I started on buses.
Artists like Blade, whose trailblazing work earned him the title, the King of Graffiti.
Did you ever think this day would come?
No, of course not, because it's an art form created by young people for young people. And when I started, there were no masterpieces.
They're going whole car, top to bottom, end to end.
Some of the artifacts are from Alan Kett's personal archive. For him, the museum's opening and the celebration that followed was the ultimate validation.
When you grow up as a child and your parents tell you that this is something wrong, and then when you go to school and your teachers are telling you this is wrong, you're going to be a loser for the rest of your life, and society finally catches up to celebrate you, it's incredibly moving. It's an emotional experience. You know, you never think that you'd make it to a place that finally got it.
Kenneth Craig, Miami.
We close with art of a different sort, the art of educating our young people. Here's my story on 50 years of Sesame Street. It began as an experiment, a TV show to level the educational playing field for all preschool children.
I always learn when I watch you guys.
It's a very educational place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learn lots of things from Alan and Chris and Nina. But really, we just like to have fun. Sing, play games, have cookies.
Isn't that the best when you play and have fun and you learn?
Oh, sure, it's a bonus.
Go!
50 years later, Sesame Street is still around.
50 years.
50th anniversary of Sesame Street.
Yeah, long time.
How are you guys celebrating?
Well, Elmo's celebrating by learning how to count to 50. Elmo's up to 40.
I was just going to say.
Elmo's up to 47.
You're almost there, Elmo.
Very close.
So close.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Over the last half century, Sesame Street has had the same goal, to make kids smarter, stronger, and kinder.
I said I'm sorry I made you angry and we got in a fight. I won't do it again. Can we still be friends?
And that's not all.
Sesame Street, from the very beginning, has adopted playful learning as its approach to teach.
Rosemarie Trulio is in charge of curriculum and content at Sesame Workshop, the nonprofit behind the groundbreaking show.
Why do children learn more easily from an Elmo or a Cookie Monster?
Because Elmo and Cookie are their friends. And so there's this word that we use in developmental psychology. It's called this power-social relationship. When children watch Sesame Street and they see Elmo and Big Bird and Julia and Abby, they're friends. They're real. They talk, they eat, they sleep, they cry. They're real. And when you develop that connection, you're going to learn more from a character that you care about.
Take Cookie Monster.
Thank you. Are we done showing word resist now, Sir Ian?
Yes, yes.
The most impulsive Muppet on Sesame Street.
Me no can resist Cookie anymore, Cookie! Nom, nom.
By kids watching Cookie fail, they're learning, hey, he messed up. He ate the cookie.
Remember, good things come to those who wait.
That strategy didn't work, but he used another strategy, and the next time he used that strategy, it worked.
Get it straight.
So it's important for us to show that trial and error.
Those same Muppets are also the best choice to explain difficult realities.
My dad's in jail.
Like incarceration,
We don't have our own apartment anymore. And
homelessness,
What's the matter, Julia?
noise.
Noise? The sirens are bothering you?
and autism.
She does things just a little differently, in a Julia sort of way.
The Sesame magic is they take difficult topics and put them through the lens of a child so that it's very easy to understand.
Teresa Fitzgerald heads up branding. She and her team spent years creating Julia, a Muppet who's on the autistic spectrum.
We were just going to create a storybook. We created character art for a storybook, and it was so well received that they decided to build the puppet. So we took those drawings and went to Henson, and Henson created a puppet. So that translation, there's a lot of creative decisions made, and then she appeared on the show.
Julia, can Big Bird see your painting?
See your painting? Yes.
And then this year we just added her family.
I love my family.
What was the response when she first appeared on the show?
It was amazing. It really was. There was such a need that there was such a positive response.
Oh, hi, Oscar. Hey.
But it's more than feedback. Research shows that Sesame Street has a positive impact on kids. This paper on early childhood education found access to the show was associated with better elementary school performance.
They compared the Sesame viewers to non-viewers. On average, they performed 16% higher than the non-viewers, but they also had these positive dispositions towards learning.
Grab a book and you'll see.
Much more motivated to learn and engage in leisure reading and better pro-social skills as well. So it wasn't just the academic, it also had a social impact.
Sesame Street continues to strive for that impact by using everything from apps
There's so much to do in Elmo's room.
to books, including Rosemarie Truglio's new book, Sesame Street, Ready for School.
Working with children alone is not the answer because children are learning from the adults around them.
You're teaching children, you're also teaching parents.
Yeah, I often say, I wish parents would watch Sesame Street as a parenting show because we have a human cast who is really representing you as a parent.
Feelings pass and feelings change.
Feelings pass and feelings change?
And so when our characters are struggling with an emotion or they're dealing with a problem, the human cast is basically telling and showing us as parents how we could possibly address this with our child.
Learning for all ages and lessons for everyone. Is it any wonder 50 years after Sesame Street was created, people are still asking,
Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
You know what we like? We like that we all different colors.
Yeah.
We even have a grouch.
Trill?
I
Yeah.
speak another language.
That's right.
And we all live really happy together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great lesson for all of us.
Trill.
So, what do you think we go get some cookies now?
I like that idea.
Okay, everybody, cookies this way.
If you enjoyed any of those stories, be sure to watch Jeff, Michelle, and me every Saturday from 7 to 9 on CBS This Morning Saturday. And for News 24/7, right here, CBSN, free on most platforms. Thanks for joining us. Take care of each other.